Welcome to UCD Library's video for Endnote Online. This video is for Windows users. If you're a Mac user, please return to our Endnote guide where you will find the Mac version of this training. In this video, we will show you how to create your Endnote Online account. We'll show you how to add references to your library and how to organize your library using groups. Finally, we will show you how to insert references into a Word document using Cite while you write and output them in your chosen referencing style. This video is divided into its various sections, which you'll see listed in the description beneath this video. So you have the option of going to a specific section and watching that, or alternatively, you can watch the video straight through. You'll also find a link to the UCD Library Endnote guide and the Endnote training listed in the description below as well. So let's get started. So the first thing we have to do is to create our Endnote Online account, and that's done through a database called Web of Science. So the easiest way to get to that is go into OneSearch, and you'll see I've typed in Web of Science already, and click on the search button. You'll see at the top there it says database recommendations, and then in blue it says Web of Science. So just click on that and you'll be brought out into Web of Science. If you haven't created your account already, you need to go to register, and then you'll be asked to put your email address, your password, re-enter your password, and then your first name and your last name, and then fill out this CAPTCHA. So it's really important that you can go to the email address that you put there, because you will be asked to authenticate your account before you can actually use Endnote. So if you don't have an account created, why don't you pause the video and head out and go through this process of creating your account, and then come back and start the training of how to use Endnote. If you have created your account, why don't you just hit the back button to the landing page for Web of Science and then click on Sign In. Then once again on Sign In, and then just put your email address in. There we go, there's mine. And your password. And there we have logged in. You can see my name there. And to get into Endnote Online, just click on Products, and then you will see Endnote, and that's going to bring you into your Endnote Online account. And this is my Endnote Online library. Endnote is managed through these options at the top of the screen, and we'll go through these as we go through the features of Endnote. By default, you go to the My References section, and this will display all the references you've brought in. And there's options here on the left-hand side as well to interact with your Endnote library. All my references will be any references ever brought in. And then you can subdivide your references up into a number of groups to put some control over your library, and we'll talk about that later on. I recommend that you create at least one library, or rather one group in your Endnote Online library as a matter of course. So how do you start adding references to your Endnote Online library? You always go to the Collect option at the very top of the screen, and you select the options that pop up when you mouse over it. So we click on Collect. There's three options. We're going to start off by showing you the most basic way of getting references into your Endnote Online library. Most of the time you'll be able to add references from a variety of online sources such as databases and OneSearch or even Google Scholar, but sometimes you might need to add a reference manually to Endnote Online, and it's very simple to do that. You just go to New Reference. It'll just take a second, and you will be presented with a long list of fields. But don't worry, about a third of the way down, they tell you that the above fields, or the fields at the very top, is where you need to focus most of your time. Before you start typing any information in, you have to decide what your reference type is. Is it a book? Is it a journal article? Is it a chapter in an edited book? And you pick the relevant option from the drop-down menu here. And in this example, we're going to go for a book. So just click on book, and the fields will change on the screen, allowing you to put in a book correctly into Endnote. So how do you do it? You just start typing in the information. So we're told here the author field, it's you put it in last name, comma, first name. So we're going to use a book by Roddy Dial. So it's going to be Dial, comma, Roddy. Now, if Roddy Dial had written this book with somebody else, you just hit return and go on to a new line and put the second author in. And you just keep adding in any extra authors that are required for this item. When you're finished, just click outside the box. It'll close back up again, and you can go on, put in the rest of the information. So the book we're going to put in is The Snapper. Make sure you check your spelling, because Endnote is not going to correct it for you. The year is 1990. The place published is Secker, and the place published is London, rather. And the place published is Secker and Warburg. So now you have enough information to use that book in any assignment that you might need to. But before we go on and save this, I just want to point out one thing about the author field. As it says underneath the box, it's last name, comma, first name. The only time it is slightly different is if you're dealing with what is called a corporate author, and that could be an organization. So for example, if you had an item and the author was listed as University College Dublin, to make that display properly at Endnote Online, you type out University College Dublin. Let me just go into the box and I'll do it for you. And then you need to put a comma at the end, and the comma will make it display correctly. If you don't put the comma in, it's going to think Dublin is the surname, and it's going to look very unusual in your list of references if you use that reference in your assignments. If we scroll on down, these are all optional fields. So some are more familiar and maybe more helpful to you. For example, an abstract will always remind you what the article is about. If it's a website, you need to put the URL in and the date you accessed it. And at the bottom, you have your first opportunity to add your reference to a group. So to add a reference to a group, just click on the little triangle beside groups. You can see I already have some groups. So to create a new group, I just click on new group, and then I just give it a name. And click OK. And then that reference will be added to that group. And if I scroll back up, I can see all the groups listed here, and you can see there's the group I created, I've just called it Tuesday. And if I click on that link there, I can view the Roddy Dial reference we've just created. And if I want to make any changes to any reference, I can easily do that just by clicking on the title of the book. The reference will open up, and then I can go in and make any changes that I need to. So I just can click on the relevant field, it'll open up, and then I can edit it again. And then I can click on return to list to bring me back to the full the list of references in that group. And this is the most basic way, as I said, of getting references into your Endnote library. But now we're going to go beyond and show you how you can add multiple references very quickly to your Endnote Online library. And we're going to start off by showing you how you can add references from OneSearch. So if I go back to the library homepage again, and I can just do a quick search. I'm going to search for James Joyce to see what references we can find. Click on Go. And there we have loads of references for James Joyce. And to add any of these references to James Joyce, I need to look for this little icon which is there beside every reference. It looks like a little folder. If you mouse over it, it'll say save this item. If you click on it, it'll turn red, and it'll also now change to saved items. You can click up to 50 references at one time and export them to your Endnote Online library. When I'm finished selecting my references, up in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a larger folder with a number beside it, and it's the number of references you've selected. So to view those references, just click on the folder icon, and all those references will be there. And it's very easy to get them out of OneSearch and into Endnote. You just click on the Export to drop-down menu, select Endnote. I'm using the Chrome browser here, and if you'll see down on the bottom left-hand corner, there's a file after appearing. It's called export-endnote. So the Chrome has bundled those references together and prepared them for adding to Endnote. So if I go back into my Endnote library, always go to Collect, and this time I'm going to go to Import References. So I've got a couple of choices to make to get those references into my Endnote library. The first thing I have to do is choose the file. And because it's visible here in Chrome, I can just click and hold my left mouse button and drag it and drop it on the Choose File button. And you can see the file name appearing beside it. The next thing you have to do is pick the import option. You need to pick the right or correct import option to get your references into your Endnote library. And the option you always pick for OneSearch is called ProQuest. So this is a really long list. So hit P in your keyboard first of all. It'll bring you down to the start of the P's in this list, and then scroll on down until you see ProQuest. Click on that to select it. And then the next thing you have to do is say where you're going to send it. So you do not send it to a group you've already created. You add it to unfiled, and I'll explain in a second why you add it to unfiled. Then just click on Import, and we'll see in red it says 3 references were imported into unfiled, and I can just click on the unfiled button there, or link in blue, to see those references. There we go. So the reason why you add it into unfiled is that this is where Endnote expects you to check that everything is okay. Don't presume just because you found a reference in OneSearch or in a database that it's coming across perfectly and you're not missing some valuable information. It's your responsibility to check that everything is okay. And remember, we showed you already to check for the details of a reference. You can just click on the title. That reference will open up. So you need to make sure you have all the bits of information that you need to cite and reference that book correctly. And as we showed you already, you can just click on the field that you want to add information to or edit, and it'll open up and you can make the changes. And when you're done, just click on Return to List. And when you're finished, then make sure you add that reference to a group. So you can select individual references by ticking the little tick box beside them, or at the very top you have the option to select all the references or everything that's on the page that's invisible in front of you. And then you can just click on the Add to Group drop-down menu and select what group you want to add those references to. So the only time you should have references in your Endnote Online library, when in your unfiled folder, I should say, in your Endnote Online library, is directly after you brought it in. After that, check that everything is okay, and then add it to the group that you want to add it to. And that's how it's easy to get references out of OneSearch. And you'll see as we go to another resource, it's generally the same way of getting your references out of that resource and into Endnote. So if we go back again to OneSearch, we'll try another resource called Science Direct, one of our largest journal providers. Just type in Science Direct as one word, click on search, and you'll see a link for Science Direct journals. Just click on that, and you'll be brought out to Science Direct. We're going to search for James Joyce again, just to be consistent. And I've put that into the keyword field, and then I just click on the search button. So in OneSearch, we had to click a little folder. Here in Science Direct, we have to tick the little box beside the articles you're interested in. And then you look around the screen for an option to get your references out of whatever resource you're in. So look for a save or export, which you can see here. So go to click on export, and then you pick your option. If you cast your mind back to OneSearch, it was very clear. It said Endnote is the option, but it doesn't say that as explicitly here. So look for the option that says RIS, and RIS is a format that Endnote can open as well. So you click on export citation to RIS. And just as we saw with OneSearch, we're going to see a file appearing in Chrome. This time it's called Science Direct. And it's the exact same process again. Go to Endnote, go to Collect, go to Import Reference. And then, once again, drag that file holding down the left mouse button and drop it on the Choose file. The import option this time is actually called Science Direct. In many cases, the name of the database that you're or resource that you're using. So clicking S will bring me down to the start of the S's. And there's the link for Science Direct. And once again, we're going to add it to unfiled and then click on import. 4 references were imported into unfiled, and I can just view unfiled by clicking on it. Once again, there's the references. Click on the link to check that everything is okay. And if you're happy, once again, you've checked everything, you need to get it out of your unfiled folder and add it to whatever group you want to add it to. So that's the basics of getting your references out of a database or adding it manually to your Endnote Online library. So we're going to go through the other options at the top of the screen just to advise you what they can do for you. So we've covered collect. If you go to organize, so the first option there allows you to manage your groups. You can create a new group down here at the bottom. You can rename a group. You can delete a group. If you delete a group, you're not deleting the references within the group. You're just deleting the category of reference that group represents. You can also share groups with other people as well. So if you're working with friends or you're working as part of a group, you can share a group with other people. And to do that, you just click on Manage Sharing and then click Start Sharing this group. You can only share with people who have registered with Endnote Online, so you need the email address that they use to create their account. And you just put them into the box at the top. As the person who's creating or sharing the group, you need to set up the access. So you can give them a read-only access, which means they can just view the references that are in the group. But if you expect people to be adding references themselves to the group, give them a read and write access. Others groups are just groups that other people have shared with you. Find duplicates allows you to find references that you've added more than once. Now, currently I have no references, but it is very easy to bring the same reference in more than one time. And if there were duplicates, they will be listed here in the middle of the screen, and Endnote would have pre-ticked one of the duplicates, and then there will be a delete button to help you get rid of the duplicate references. If you are getting ready to write an assignment, using Endnote, I would recommend that you delete any duplicates before you start the writing process. If we click on Format, one of the things you can do here is you can create a bibliography in Endnote. We'll be showing you in a few minutes how you can use Word to add references and citations. But if all you want to do is create a list of references in a particular referencing style, you can do that here in Endnote as well. So you pick your references. So this could be your entire library, or you could pick a group. So I'm going to go to the group that we created today. Pick your bibliographic style. So check with your school as to what style they want you to use, and then select that. A lot of people use Harvard. So if we go to H, it'll bring you down to the start of the H's, and you can pick Harvard UCD. File format, the easiest thing to do is just pick rich text file, and then you can save it, you can email it, and if you click on preview and print, it'll output those references using that referencing style. So then you can just copy that text and you can add it into a Word document or an email. So I've mentioned a number of times about using Endnote with Word, and the next option in the Format tab will allow you to have that option. So if you click on Cite while you write plugin, you get the option to add a new option in Microsoft Word, which will allow your Endnote library and Word to connect. So there's two versions, a Windows and a Mac version. I have to give a slight note of caution at the moment about the Mac version. If you're being prompted by your Mac computer to update to the newest version of the Mac operating system, I would advise that you don't do that, because that can stop Endnote from working on that computer. Endnote is aware of the issue and is working hard to come up with a solution for that, but at this moment in time, this is an issue. So pick the option that's applicable to you, and then install that to your computer. Another tip I would give you is do not have Microsoft Word open on your computer when you're doing this. So at this stage, we have created our Endnote library. We have started adding references to our Endnote on library. We've shown you how you can manage your references using the options on the top of the screen to create groups, share groups, how to create a bibliography. And hopefully by this stage now you've also added a Cite while you write plugin. So now I'm going to open up Microsoft Word and show you how you can get your references out of your Endnote Online library and into a Word document. So now here we are in Microsoft Word, and you'll notice there's a new menu after appearing called Endnote, and also you'll see a number of tools that you can use with Endnote to manage your references. So let's start by putting a few paragraphs of text on the screen first of all, and then we'll show you how you can get those references from your Endnote library out into a Word document. So the easiest way to put some text on the screen is just to put rand =, RAND, open brackets, close brackets, and then press enter return. And that's going to put some text on the screen for you. And then it's just as simple as putting your cursor where you want to insert your references. I put mine at the end of the first paragraph, and then going up to insert citation, then you get a search box. So whatever keywords you've been using yourself to put references into your Endnote library, you can use that. I put references in using Jai, so I'm going to use that as my search term, and we'll get a number of results. And then you can pick whichever reference you want to put in by just clicking on it. And if you hold down the command button while you're selecting, you can select multiple references as well. So I've selected 2 references at this stage. When I've selected my references, all I do is just click on Insert. And Endnote is now going to insert those references. You can see the in-text citations here. They've just turned gray when I clicked on them. And down at the bottom here, these are your references. So it's that easy to put your in-text citations, and Endnote will automatically put the references in at the same time. If you put a reference in and you decide it's the wrong reference or it's in the wrong place, don't just do what we normally do in Word and just delete it. You need to use the Endnote toolbar to get rid of it. So if I click on a citation, first of all, particularly if you click on the intended citation that you want to remove, you'll notice that it turns gray. And then I go to Edit and Manage Citations in the Endnote toolbar. And you'll see that there are, on the right-hand side of the screen, there are 3 little dots in a circle. So pick the reference that you want to get rid of and click on the corresponding 3 little dots, and then this pop-down menu appears, and we're going to click on Remove Citation. You notice now that where there were 2 citations, there's only 1. And then if I click on OK, it'll remove the citation you wanted to get rid of. And if it's the only time you have it in that document, it'll be removed from your reference list as well. And the flip side of that is also true. If you have a citation, you want to put a second citation, go to the existing citation, and as you see, it'll turn gray. Up to Edit and Manage Citation, go to that 3 little dots in a circle again, and this time go to Insert Citation. You search again for your reference, click Insert, and when you're finished, just click OK. And now where you had 1 citation, you have 2 citations. And if we look down at the bottom again, you'll see both of the references are listed there. One other thing that you can do in Edit and Manage Citation is that you could put page numbers in. So if you quote from a specific page in a book or article, or if you paraphrase a certain page, you need to say what page you got that information from. And if you go to the bottom of the screen, you'll see there's 3 options: prefix, suffix, and pages. You might think that pages is the logical place to go. I wouldn't recommend that because it doesn't work with all referencing styles. So your best bet is to go up to suffix and then just put in a comma first of all, a space, a lowercase p and a full stop, and your page number. That's for a single page. If you're dealing with a multiple page, something that goes from one page to another, you can go pp full stop and then page number dash and the next page number. And when you've done that, just click OK. And if we scroll back up again, we'll see that page number has appeared beside the citation that we've chosen. You can change at any style, at any stage, to any referencing style. So there's a drop-down menu here. If the style that you want is not listed, you can make it appear by clicking on Select Another Style. And the long list of references we saw in Endnote Online will appear here. So if we wanted to change, for example, to Vancouver, hit V on your keyboard, first of all, to bring you down to the start of Vancouver, to the V's, and then just look for Vancouver. We're going to select Vancouver UCD, and then just click Choose. And there we go. It's updated to have a numbered style. And the references are numbered down here at the bottom as well. And you can swap around from referencing style to referencing style at any stage. If you are a postgraduate and you're doing a thesis or dissertation, you may end up with different chapters, which means that each chapter will have its own bibliography. But when you're submitting your thesis or dissertation for correction, you will be expected to have a master document with a master bibliography. And Endnote has the tool to help you combine all those little bibliographies that might appear in the individual chapters. And to do that, all you do is go up to Tools in the Endnote toolbar and choose the option Convert to Unformatted Citations. And when I click on that, you'll notice that the numbered style for Vancouver has disappeared, and Endnote has replaced that with a lot more information. Endnote calls this a placeholder. And there's enough information here for Endnote to be able to figure out which specific reference this is. You'll also notice that there's no reference list at the bottom. So all you need to do is do this process for all the chapters in your thesis or dissertation, and then copy and paste them in the correct order into a new blank document. And then you can click on Update Citations and Bibliography right under the Style drop-down menu, and that will reapply your referencing style to your new master document. And you'll have at the bottom now one full master bibliography or reference list. The last thing to show you is convert to plain text, also in the tools drop-down menu. This is used to remove the EndNote coding when you're submitting an article to a publisher. They will tell you that the EndNote coding in the document, and remember that's the bit that turns gray when you click on it in a Word document, that can interfere with the desktop publishing packages that they use. So all you have to do is click on Convert to Plain Text. Now you do have to pay attention because at the end of this process, you need to end up with two versions of your document. You need a version with the EndNote coding that still turns gray when you click on the citations or the references, and a plain text version, which looks exactly the same, but nothing turns gray. So I would always advise that you should save everything before you do this, just in case you get distracted at the wrong time. So then I'm being told, do I want to save the document? So I'm going to click on Save. And now I have two versions of the document. I've got one where nothing happens, nothing turns gray. And then I have another version where it turns gray. And that is the version where it turns gray is when your publisher comes back with looking for corrections and amendments. That's the version that you will make those in. So that is the basics of using Endnote Online with Microsoft Word. If you need extra support for Endnote, please check out our Endnote guide at libguides.ucd.ie/Endnote, or you can email me at dermot.stokes@ucd.ie. Thank you for listening.